Alright, all my little YouTube motherfuck faces. You're watching Validation Boy live stream March 4th, 2021. Some of you may remember this, some of you may not, but several live streams back, I had a really noisy neighbor who was making a whole lot of fucking unnecessary noise. And he's a Puerto Rican individual, and I had to go downstairs and bash on his door and tell him that he needed to turn down his music because it was carrying throughout the entire complex. And not only that, it was rattling the AC vents in my own apartment on a whole different floor. And he was just blasting the shit out of his stupid ass music. And I needed to get him to shut up so I could do my broadcast. Well, ever since then, he's been doing the same thing. And it happens on every single Friday and Saturday night. And he starts at 10 p.m. and goes till 3 or 4 in the morning with his fucking music while he gets trashed. I don't know what drugs he's doing, but I know he's at least drinking and at least doing cocaine. And he just gets trashed. And he needs to have this, he has this shitty playlist of reggaeton music. And he goes through it, and he has some kind of emotional journey that he takes while he gets all fucked up. And it's at the expense of everyone around him. And he just feels like he has the right to do this, but he's a fucking retard. So, I couldn't really take it anymore. And I decided I was going to go ahead and call the non-emergency police line. And thank God they came within minutes. And they shut his ass down on that night. But, of course, because of who he is, because of what he is, it continued the next weekend. And I was forced to do it again. And he didn't like having cops bust in on him while he's, doing all his drugs and doing whatever the fuck he's doing in there. So he has finally shut the fuck up, And I feel bad calling the cops on anyone, but I'm not going to live my life like that. And the problem with the whole thing is that, just like I told the dispatcher, this is a cultural issue. These so-called people, they're less cognitively developed. And as far as I'm concerned, they're genetically incapable of grasping the bigger picture. They're genetically incapable of grasping the concept that there's other people around who might not be okay with having the bass from your fucking gimp-tard music rattling throughout my apartment. Okay? Rattling throughout their fucking apartments. And the most disappointing thing about all this is that nobody else in my building has even tried to deal with this problem. Not even the young couple that lives right underneath him. They don't even try to deal with it. So, once again, I guess, leave all the fucking dirty work to the white man. Leave it to the white man to do all your fucking dirty work for you guys. And it's all because of the fear that these people have of looking racist. And it's all because of their bitch-ass adherence to the self-suiciding indoctrination of inclusivity that they've all been bullied into. And if my Adamic brothers and sisters don't take such stands and start resisting this cultural oppression, then a strange humanistic yet anti-Adamic bond will take place. And the next step in that development is mass swirling. And eventually that swirling is going to get out of control, if it hasn't already. And the thing is, we can't be mixing with these savages. We can't be swirling with these savages because, like in my video, it's a one-way road. That would be genocide. And it's the same thing that God says throughout the Bible. That is a genocide. If God's children continue to mongrelize with, or rather eat of the fruit from the branches of the family trees that are in our garden, who are genetically infected with the curse that is the knowledge of good and evil, then our future generations will never again be able even to have the peace and quiet that we so desperately long for. that our culture expects. We'll never have freedom again, okay? That's obvious. We're never going to have prosperity again. That's obvious. But maybe there's a chance that we can have, at the very least, some peace and fucking quiet. And if that's all that we can get, then that's worth fighting for. Now, if you're out here listening to me in secret and you're conflicted concerning the controversial, shall we say, demographic-oriented ideas that I've been presenting, and you're convinced that the things I'm saying are not biblical, well, I have some verses to show you. Okay, obviously there's the all-important first command that God gave Adam and Eve in the garden, not to mix with the family trees that were in the garden. And honestly, that should be well enough evidence for any skeptic. But then we have Exodus 33:16, wherein God says, So shall we be separated, I and thy people, from all the people that are upon the face of the earth. Okay? And there's a whole bunch of other ones that I'm going to tell you, but I'm not going to read them out. What you should do is grab your Bible, grab your King James Bible, and go look up these verses later on after we're done here today. First one you need to look up is Leviticus 20:24. Then you need to look up Deuteronomy 7, verse 3. Then you need to look up Joshua 23, verse 12 and 13. Then you need to look up Jeremiah 2, verses 21 through 25. Then you need to look up Hosea chapter 5, verses 6 and 7. And then you need to then you need to look up Genesis 6 and look at the early verses of that. And then you need to look up Jude 7. Okay, if you're not believing the things that I'm telling you, if you're thinking that I'm just making this stuff up, okay, it's crystal clear throughout all of those verses in the Bible. And here's something else that you guys might not know. Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed by God because of intermingling. Do we really want to experience that level of wrath again? No, we don't, okay? Now, if Satan can use his bloodline to trick you into believing that it's all too late for you, the children of God, to follow our Father's first command and stay pure within our generations, just as Noah did, don't you think he would do exactly that? Would it not be a huge power play to convince the body of Christ that they are already impure and that because of this they should follow after the lust of their flesh and continue to casually intermingle with the beasts of the field? Because, that's the progressive and loving thing to do. This is all part of Satan's plan to exterminate you people, okay? And some of my YouTube buddies, Jed and the sort, they're always pushing me, go get a genealogy test done. No. Okay? A brother-in-law of mine and technically another brother-in-law of mine, I guess you could say, have had their genealogies done. And for some fucking reason, even though these men are both full-on European Adamics, okay, their genealogy has come back with, you're 1% J, or you're 2% J, supposedly. Give me a fucking break, dude. We know why they're doing that. It's so that they can say, look, you're part J. I guess you can't hate on the J's. I guess you can never be a 6 million hoax believer. Okay? As if this is some kind of fucking reward. Or this is something that people like my brothers-in-law should fucking be happy about. Okay? We know what it's all about. It's all about what I just said. Now these masks that we're being forced to wear, guess what? They're for the goyim. They're for the fucking goy. And they want you to believe that you're part J. You're not. Most of you are not. Thank God. Okay? Now there's something else I want to talk about. Hip-hop culture, as I've said before, is absolutely decimating our population. And isn't it sickening that anytime you go into a public place like a Walmart or a Wawa gas station, they're blasting this fucking hip-hop music. They're blasting it from the pumps and from the building. You're surrounded by it. And these songs are songs of lust that embrace the worship of the so-called divine feminine. That Mother Earth worship is everywhere. It's seeped into our culture. And there's even a channel on YouTube called Roma Army. Okay? And she is just an absolute atrocity of a woman. And she's supposedly a men's rights activist, but she's still a complete and utter proponent of the divine feminine. She's a complete joke. I've left a comment on her video and said, hey, the stuff you're doing is not funny, it's not unique, and you're not even vaguely interesting. And a lot of people actually gave that comment a thumbs up. Yet, in response to that comment, some idiot got on there and said, oh, why did I know your first video would be about flat earth? And I said, because you're a fucking cuck. That's why, bro. So I get flat earth harassment even there. I said nothing about flat earth. I was just tearing this demon down for being a liar. And some guy went onto my channel, looked at my videos, and started harassing me about being a flat earth proponent. And it all ties in oh so well, doesn't it? Because if you guys remember, I made a video a long time called Flat Earth, the Global Gynocracy. And it's about the fact that the Earth, being a globe, can't be proven. But the imagery we get from that is really just a representation of the pregnant belly of Gaia. And it's all about worship of the divine feminine. And why does the system want us worshiping the divine feminine? Because then we're not worshiping God, our Holy Father. And we're putting something as an idol before him. So even there, people would rather worship the vagina than worship God, our Creator. And let me tell you something else. When we throw around the word Antichrist, we got to be really careful. Because as far as I'm concerned now, Antichrist really just equals anti-Adamic, anti-white. We are the body of Christ. We are the holy temple. We are the river of life in Revelation 22 that flows directly from God and the Lamb. Another thing I want to mention is that there's this fucking channel out there called Think Before You Sleep. And he's super fucking popular. And the thing is, he's an antichrist. And he's a so-called or a self-declared yoga instructor who claims that he's very successful. Well, we all know that yoga is straight up satanic. We all know that yoga is body positions to invite demons into your vessel. And it's all about worshiping nature instead of worshiping our Holy Father and Jesus Christ. But for some reason, I unsubscribed from him months ago after I figured this all out. But his shit still pops up in my feed. And every week, this fucking moron gets on there and writes some epic diatribe in a text post apologizing that, oh, I'm sorry, my video won't be coming out on time. Nobody fucking cares, bro. Nobody fucking cares. And I put that comment in there, and a whole bunch of people thumbed it up. And I also said in that comment, and also, how many minutes did you waste writing this elaborate text post? And someone said, oh, being a YouTube content creator is hard. So I looked at their channel, and of course, they're one of the trillions and trillions of fucking non-content producing fucking ghost sock account channels. And I said, how would you know? You don't even produce content. And then Think Before You Sleep actually goes to my content, or to my comment, and says, how would you know? You're not a big YouTuber. And I'm like, oh, okay, so this is just a pissing contest now? And it just shows, man, wide is the path for fucking garbage content. Wide is the fucking path. And then, speaking of wide is the path, there's another guy out there called Cam B, Cambee. And he's basically one of these fuckers that's keeping alive the Dallas Goldbug shit, where people are different, different crisis actors are playing different roles. And, a lot of that is true. But this guy, his claim to fame is that Justin Bieber is The Weeknd in blackface. Now, come on, dude. There's plenty of footage of them together, singing together. They have studio songs together. Of course, he says, oh, it's all CGI or it's all fake and this and that. Okay, maybe. But at the same time, I remember watching some breakdown video of the Super Bowl halftime show, Illuminati Breakdown. And this guy, The Weeknd, is up there sweating like a fucking pig, singing for like 30 minutes. And I don't know, man. Is there really masks that can have sweat coming through the pores of the mask? I don't know, man. It's just a bunch of stupid shit. And he's basically saying shit along the lines of like, Shaquille O'Neal is the same actor who plays Ariana Grande. Or he'll be like, Alanis Morissette is the same person that's Hulk Hogan. It's like, okay, buddy. Like, you're just a disinfo agent that's just trying to discredit everybody. It's ridiculous, man. But the guy did say one true thing, and I'm sure he didn't think of this himself, but he did say one thing that was true. He said, we're all hitchhikers on this truth journey. We hop from each other's cars. We hop in and out of each other's cars and trains and go a certain distance, and then we have to hop onto another one. Yeah, that's true. But at this point, after seeing everything I've seen, and after putting out all the content I've put out, and realizing that the big one is the genocide of the Adamic people, I feel like I'm at the front engine of this truth train. I'm at the cutting edge, like I've said before. And, it's lonely up here in the fucking Snowpiercer. It's real fucking lonely. But that's okay. It can be demoralizing, and it's a dark struggle, but I'm not going to give up. I'm doing this all for Jesus Christ. I'm just not going to give up. And it brought me to the idea of, slasher films from the 80s. And a lot of young Adamic men, a lot of young men, and even some young women really, really love these fucking things. And I always did. But as I get older, I've seen them all. The ones that come out nowadays are not pure slasher films anymore. And really what I like about them most is the whodunit factor. Like in Scream, like the Scream series. It's more about the whodunit and not about the violence, The violence was always a byproduct. It was always about the spooky atmosphere and the fear of it all. But I was thinking about it, slasher films. Think about this. The Jays probably made these slasher films in order to instigate and draw out the most aggressive of the Adamic males so that they could imprison them and get them off the streets. If this is a war and the way to eliminate your enemy is in an absolute manner, like these slasher films do, then why wouldn't they want to draw out and cordon off those who are the most aggressive, those who are the most likely to actually take an extreme stand along those lines, right? And it's funny because those movies always paint the killer as, the big, scary, ignorant, speechless, dumb Adamic man as the villain. And in the end, it's always the final girl who ends up taking out the big, scary white man. Is it not? So these movies still manage to denigrate God's patriarchy. And that's what they're all about. And there's one last thing I want to talk to you guys about. YouTube said on my last stream, hey, VB just cuts straight to it. He leaves out all the fluff. And he's right. I've been watching a couple of videos from some channel. I'll link this video below. And it was very, very interesting. Now, let me break this down for you. About 6 months ago, maybe more, I was having some skin issues. Having some minor, body acne things that weren't really explainable. And I was assuming that it was because of the fact that I worked, 6 days a week and I sweat all day long and I'm going from hot environments into a freezer and then jumping in and out of my car, doing all this work, doing all this sweating, being around all these oils and stuff. And I thought, man, there's something going on here. So I asked my woman about it because she works in the medical field, and she went and talked to a doctor. And the doctor told her, hey, tell your man to cut out dairy. Tell him to stop eating cheese and see what happens. So I did that. I cut my dairy intake down by about 90%. And ever since then, all of my issues have completely fucking disappeared. And that's what the problem was all along. Thank goodness. I thought, oh man, what the fuck is wrong with my skin, But no, it's the dairy. That dairy is fucking you guys up, okay? You really need to cut out a lot of your dairy. I'm not saying cut it out completely. Like, you have a sandwich, you got like a meatball sandwich, you got to have a little fucking provolone on that bitch, right? So don't cut it out completely, but cut your shit down by like 85 to 90%, and you will see all kinds of things will start getting better with your body and with your mind even. So I've been watching this channel, and there was a video. And the video was called The Curse of Creativity. Now this channel, I'm not really a proponent for them because they're not really, godly. But some of the things they talk about can be interesting if you're blazing out late at night and you've got nothing else to do and you're just looking for intelligent content. And this video, The Curse of Creativity, was about it was a story about a girl. And I'm not sure if it's a true story or not, but it still made sense. The story is about a girl who was a really creative writer, and she was advanced for her years and eventually got rich and famous from being so creative. But the thing is, all her stuff was very dark and dismal, and that's what the people were drawn to, and she became famous for it. And eventually, for some reason, the dark depression was taking over too much, and she decided to see a nutritionist or whatever. And the nutritionist asks her, what about your diet? And she revealed to the nutritionist that she was eating basically cheese and dairy all day. And then the nutritionist had her cut all the dairy out of her diet, and all of a sudden, she was no longer depressed. And her content changed dramatically, and all of her fans left her. And I empathized with this greatly because, as you know, I struggle to bring you guys content, and I've been stuck on this one thing. And back in the day, I used to put out all this content, and it was coming from a place of rage and a place of disdain and hatred, as you all know. But lately, whenever I get ideas, I find it hard to even make a video about it because I figure myself out of it. I weasel myself out of making the content because I'm like, oh man, do I really need to go that hard on something? Is it worth it? And I think myself out of it. And that's actually a good thing. And it's just crazy that I saw this video about this cheese, this fucking dairy, and how it affected that person. And it's like, wow, it's affected me in the exact same way. And I am feeling a whole lot better all the time. I'm not so dark and I was never depressed, but I'm not so dark and dismal and angry as I was before. And I see this direct correlation with my content. And I think it's a good thing. It leads me to only want to make content that really matters and can really actually educate people. And since I've found the big one, and I'm no longer having this crazy allergic reaction to cheese that makes me full of rage, because I think that's what it is. I think a lot of people that are full of rage out here, it's because they're having an allergic reaction to dairy. And it's crazy to think that that's the case. It's like, wow, it's pretty deep. But I think that's why a lot of people have slowed down on their content production, because a lot of people are starting to cut the dairy out of their diet. It's a little sad, that less content is going to come out because of the fact that people are getting healthier. But just as the author in the story and just as myself, I still see things from this dark perspective. But personally, it's not affecting me as much. I'm able to fight off these urges. There's less of a passionate need to produce this savage content that I've been producing. I mean, don't forget about my, content about the truth about female obesity, or the truth about, is Asperger's real, or is fibromyalgia real? Those days are probably gone. And I find it all very, very interesting. And I just thought that I'd let you guys know that that might just be what's behind all of it. That's why my videos are shorter. That's why my live streams are shorter. And I was thinking about it, a lot of the big, more successful YouTube channels, so-called successful YouTube channels, the reason they get big is because, wide is the fucking path for the wicked. And not only that, what they do is they slow drip their bullshit fluff onto their audiences. People like Salty Cracker, people like Hans, what they're doing is slow dripping this played out content that we've all heard a million times before onto their audiences. And that's why they have bigger numbers. I know Hans is absolutely nothing compared to Salty Cracker, but in the world of, or in the realm of extreme conspiracy, Hans is a big player. And his shit is a slow drip of infected garbage. And that's why he's successful. And he's abusing his audience by doing that. And Vlad says Salty is a J. Well, I know one thing. Salty is an impure intermingler. And maybe that's another reason why YouTube pushes him. Because he's a fucking sellout. And yeah, he does look like a fucking J. But regardless of that, there's a lot of reasons. Because he says some pretty offensive shit. Yet somehow he has, 500,000 fucking subscribers? And his videos get hundreds of thousands of views in a day? Doesn't really make sense. Obviously, Sarah says, Salty is a woman. There's a chance. There's a chance. I'm not saying this for a fact, but someone out there could look at him and could guess that he might be a, an FTM. I'm not saying that he is at all, but someone out there could look at some of the markers, the biomarkers, and come to that conclusion and at least believe themselves. Be it true or not, they could believe that, and I see how. And these are the things that I had to say to you guys today. Let's go ahead and do the first 5 in the live and see who's in here. In at number 1. Wow. Oh, I lost my first 5. We're not going to do it today. I lost my first 5. I'm already past that point, but I am going to mention some people that are in here. We've been joined by Nathan Oakley, 1980. Great to see you. Cigar Face. Awesome. Dank. Obviously, Sarah says. Burger Boy. Big Mac Miller Light. Thomas Richardson. Vlad's Edge of Reality. Vicnoid. Chris Hayes, great to see you. Gerald Cragg, thank you so much for all the comments you leave on my videos. Highly appreciated. Oblivia Nation, who says, why are you so distracted by all these fools? Geez, I'm losing respect. What do you mean distracted? I'm calling out the antichrists. These people are influencing the key demographic that I don't want falling into their traps. I'm trying to set that shit straight. So no, I'm not distracted by them. I'm fighting them. But thank you for contributing anyways. Much love and respect to you. Schlumminger. And we've been joined by Andres, who I think was number 2 actually technically tonight, but I don't have the first 5 in the live up here. Big Mac Miller Light says GPV for life. Oh man. Nathan Oakley says, don't oppress me. Nathan Oakley also says that he's a very proud Jewish Muslim, and that makes perfect sense. Cigarface says, long live VB. I'm only living it out for Jesus Christ. And Adamic Scotsman has also joined us. Too many sneaky small hats and mongrels pushing false narratives. You got that right. Looks like there's 30 people watching me. I'm so glad to have you guys in here. Maybe on my next stream, I'll get some guests in. I'd love to have an old guy named Ed join me. I doubt he will, but I'd love to have Ed join me. I'd love to have Vlad in. I'd love to have Jed. I'd love to have Cigar Face. I'd love to have you guys on. I'd love to have Nathan Oakley on as a guest. All of y'all. Even, obviously, Sarah Says, even though it's someone who probably won't join a live stream. But I'd like to have all you guys on, and we can just have another old school VB roundtable open panel. Gold-plated vagina has joined us and says, "Have I been summoned?" Yes, you have. Nathan Olga says Ed was a laugh. Thank you guys so much for joining me. That's all I have for today. No more fluff from BB. Piercing straight through all the bullshit at the front of the cutting edge. God's blessings to the Adamic bloodline. God's blessings to all those who are listening. Praise Jesus Christ to the max. We are nothing without our Holy Father. This has been Validation Boy live stream, March 4th, 2021.